right stream. Are you working? Yes? Maybe. I hope so. Yes, thank God. Okay, things are presumably working. Hello, everyone, and welcome back. It's your host, Michelle, aka Chat-Mort, and thank you so much for turning once again to my humble little channel. No, please don't go over there, sweet boy. You either stay or you go play, okay? No climbing on the microphone. So, hi, Shiogarath. Welcome. You gonna go play, Mr. Muffin? Goodbye, honey. Okay, so, hi. You can tell that what I'm going to talk about is pretty dire, and I'm pretty irritated if I look this bad and I'm on stream and my basement is a mess and stuff. Anyway, hi. I just wanted to stop by and talk about something really quickly. Please don't bump the mic, honey, okay? Where you going, Squirt? Nemly, look. Nemly, look. Nemly, friend. Okay, I'm just being swarmed by friends at the moment. Nemi, what are you smelling? Hi, Nemi. Nemi, look. Kitty, kitty, kitty. Hold on, you guys. Nemi, look, honey. Nemmerly. Okay, no, she's going away. All right, I wish I could get my cats to look at the camera because they're adorable and I want to show them to you, but, you know, in contrast with the subject I'm going to discuss here very briefly, I don't, you know, if my cats don't want to do something and it's not like going to the vet or administering medicine, I treat my cats like living things with nervous systems. So, okay, perhaps this was spoilers. As you can see, we're going to talk about something here on Twitter, briefly. So, I discovered this thing that I'm just going to mention here as quickly as possible, and then I'm going to head back out because I'm having a terrible blood sugar crash, and it feels like they're like microscopic staples scraping every one of my veins from inside, which is what happens when my blood sugar gets this low. It's really good. It's the best. So I was on Twitter today at work because today was a very low workload day. And I was just messing around looking at Twitter, as you can tell from the fact that I did a really long Twitter thread. But I follow Sky Williams on Twitter. And I'm sure you guys have heard of Sky Williams. He's a really, really charming, sweet guy. He's interesting because he'll talk to just about anybody. He doesn't stick to any one side politically, and he doesn't only talk to people from one genre of entertainment on YouTube. Anyway, Sky found a kitten, and I'm not gonna go through this whole thing of tweets. I found the ones that I wanted to show you guys, and I'm not going to show you all the contexts leading up to this because Twitter is a minefield, even if you don't intentionally follow NSFW stuff. I don't want to traumatize anyone, and I don't want to get my channel stricken or taken down. So, anyway, Sky Williams found a kitten, and he tweeted about it today. Hi, Jarl. Yeah, Sky tweeted a picture of this kitten he found. It looked pretty emaciated, and he tweeted that they found it outside, he and, I don't know, his boyfriend or whoever he lives with. And he said that they bathed it, they picked every flea off of it they could find, and that he's already attached to it. He's not going to be able to take it to the shelter, and that he has resolved to be the best cat dad possible. And then later, Sky actually tweeted in response to that something about the fact that he'd lost a bunch of weight just in sheer volume of tears, and that was really alarming to people because nobody knows if something horrible happened and the kitten was really frail and died, or he took it to the vet and it tested FIV positive and they had to euthanize it. We don't know. Hopefully it's just because when you see an innocent, sweet little animal, this terrifyingly powerful, almost godlike maternal instinct just comes over you no matter what gender you are, you know, and you just dissolve into a puddle of tears when you see some sweet little thing you want to take care of. You know, hopefully nothing bad happened to the kitten and Sky is just too busy playing with it and nursing it back to health to respond to anybody on Twitter. Anyway, in response to this first post, the internet was really excited because Sky is a really, really charming, sweet person. And it was really cool to see he had a kitten. And another person, as you can see from the person who is in the, can you see my cursor on here? Yeah, you can. From the subheading, the tab name, I follow Siren Cove on Twitter and YouTube. I think she's really cool. I think she's really creative. She's the polar opposite of me in her style, how she expresses herself, and I think that's really fascinating. So she responded to Sky and said, you know, as a bunch of people did, you know, he probably knows and probably did already, but just telling him, you know, please take the kitten to the vet and make sure it doesn't have like anything horrible that could get you guys sick. Make sure that it's, you know, not like microchipped already and somebody's missing it. Please make sure it doesn't have like any diseases that are going to kill it, so you know ahead of time and all that stuff. And somebody responded to Siren Cove's tweet asking if she had seen some of this stuff. And no. People responded to her, but the first one I saw was somebody quote tweeting this, I believe, this tweet right here by this charming lad, Turkey Fucker, who I want to credit for his content he put on here. But first somebody responded with this tweet to Sky and said, "Do you want to help save another cat from certain death?" And it was this video. And then later people started tweeting Siren Cove about this same issue, and she's going to do a video on it tonight, she said, or she's filming one at the present, which is good because she has almost exactly 100 times the subscribers I do and a lot more reach, so it's awesome that she's discussing this, but I'm pissed, so I wanted to talk about it too. If you recognize this detestable little countenance here, and for some reason I wasn't sure who this was, but something about this tiny little like pixelated thumbnail of this person filled me with rage. And it's actually because it is, in fact, Alinity, and that's why I recognized her in the basest sense, in that I felt nauseous when I glanced at her. If you don't know who Alinity is the can we copy strike this guy person who PewDiePie mentioned her in a video, and he used a really scary 4-letter acronym, a silly term for like the negative stereotype for women on the internet, and you know, it's funny that she got angry about this because she literally is the living embodiment of the negative stereotype of women on the internet. Not somebody who flaunts their sexuality because they are empowered, they're creative, they choose to use that in, you know, in an authentically empowered way to make income and make a living and make a name for themselves. But the negative stereotype in that somebody will flaunt their sexuality and wear like a really low-cut shirt, I'm not a hypocrite, I promise, because they are incapable of being entertaining in any other way. So they have to revert to something that literally half the population has, that is mammary glands, because they have nothing else to offer that would get people to pay attention to them and give them money. Are you coming, Smoo? Hello, honey. Please don't disconnect my microphone. Thank you, honey. Come here. Come here, sweet girl. Come here, Moofy. No, you're... Okay, she's leaving. I'm sorry. I want to show you my babies, but they do not want to be shown. So, yeah. Anyway, PewDiePie said this big spooky 4-letter acronym that is slang my generation uses for, like, the really negative stereotype of, you know, women online. And because that must have resonated with her evidently, because she got so upset about it, she very snidely, you know, very, very loudly broadcasted that she was going to abuse the copyright claim system to copyright claim PewDiePie's video where he talked about her in this way. And that's why people know who she is and why she's semi-relevant, because she actually really snidely bragged about the fact that she was going to get all of her orbiters to copy strike someone wrongfully and abuse that system on YouTube to get money that she didn't earn for something that didn't happen, that she claims did. So that's who Alinity is. So the reason this was brought up in conjunction with and corresponding to Scott Williams' tweet where he found a kitten that he is presumably nursing, you know, back from the brink of death, is this. You know, the person responded and said, "Do you want to help save another a cat from certain death or something?" And they showed this. And I don't have my volume up. I don't think I'm going to have the volume, like, coming through OBS. It shouldn't be. And it's not relevant. She's just making kind of nasally, like, I'm not good at games, but I'm still a gamer because I said so, and I have cleavage noises. They're not really relevant to the video. But the person showed this video, and I don't know if Sky responded to it, but somebody I really like, who I mentioned earlier, Siren Cove, saw it, and she's covering this issue as well, and hopefully a lot of other people will, because this is, I mean, it's noteworthy if you watch it. So this is just a clip of her playing... Is this Overwatch? I can't even tell. It's kind of pixelated. But let's just... This is what she does. So yeah, that's what happens when her cat is in the way. As you can see, So you might understand, knowing that I'm an animal person, why this enrages me. There are people who have said, this is not a big deal. But I'm just going to point out real quick, you can see she's gaming and making like, I'm a good gamer, I swear noises there. And then she makes this micro expression of just disgust. Her face pulls down in this look of just rage. And somebody responded to me on Twitter when I shared this and was a little bit irritated by the way she treats her cat when it dares to get in the way of a video game. That's how important this thing is that she flung her cat out of the way for. Somebody said she's just moving her cat out of the way. I don't get what the problem is. So obviously, if your animal's in the way and you're in the middle of something and you're a gamer, if your cat gets in the way, you're going to move your cat. I have definitely like pushed my cat off of countertops and stuff when they're near something that could hurt them, like if I'm cooking something or they could spill something and hurt themselves. Is it Apex Legends? Okay, I didn't think it looked quite like the overlay of Overwatch, but I wasn't positive. But if your animal's in the way, and my example is cats, what you do is you kind of push them, because cats do tend to land on their feet, yes, but you push them and you make sure that the cat is looking at the floor. They angle their body toward the floor and they prepare to jump off the counter or the table or wherever they're at that they shouldn't be at, because it's a hazard to you or them for them to be there. And then the cat proceeds to jump on the floor, under its own power. You don't take a cat and violently lift it up under its ribs with force that could possibly crack the cat's ribs or hurt it badly and callously throw it behind you very violently with no concern for how it lands or whether it landed okay or not, as she did. If your cat is in the way and you want to move your cat, you can push your cat off of the surface, but you do it gently enough that you can watch their body language to see that they're like, okay, I'm going down. I'm going to orient my body toward the floor and jump under my own volition. And if I push my cat towards the edge of the counter or whatever, and the cat doesn't do that, it stumbles, it doesn't realize what's happening, it wants whatever I'm doing, so it's not turning and angling itself to jump off the table. You do not continue to push or fling or throw your cat onto the floor. You pick the cat up and you put it on the floor, or you turn its body so it sees the floor and prepares to jump under its own power, and then you give it the little nudge so it jumps and lands because it knows what's happening. It knows it's going to fall. It knows the floor is there, so it chooses to jump itself and prepares itself. Another thing people don't understand is they keep joking that, well, cats always land on their feet, so it's fine. One, I will never understand this bizarre cultural thing where, like, if you even say I don't care for dogs, people are like at your door with torches and pitchforks. But there's this cultural thing of you can beat cats, you can throw them in something full of liquid where they can't get out and they'll drown if you don't save them. You can hit an animal on the road that has a nervous system that is reasonably intelligent, that can feel complex amounts of pain and fear and love and emotional relationships with other animals. You can hit an animal like that on the road or do horrible things to it, and that's just funny and normal, If people hit a cat on the road, they never turn around to see if it's okay. When 9 times out of 10, if you had taken that cat to the vet, it probably would have survived. If you even say I'm not a dog person, people say you're a monster and a psychopath, and they don't want you around them. It's a very peculiar cultural double standard we have, and I just don't understand it. But the other thing that people don't understand, because people don't understand cats and choose not to understand cats, is that cats will land on their feet most of the time if they don't have any injuries, illnesses, neurological disorders. If they're not super young or super old, yes, they'll usually land on their feet. But the more space they have to twist and reorient themselves in the air, the more likely they are to catch themselves on their feet. If a cat falls from like 6 feet, it's far more likely to injure itself than if it falls from like a story or 2 stories up. People don't know that. People just, I don't know, they think that dogs are the correct way for an animal to act, and if something doesn't, they just don't care, and they don't educate themselves about things, even if they choose to have that innocent thing in their care at their mercy and, take the responsibility of caring for it. But you can see, this is not somebody, like tossing their animal gently so it will catch itself and be fine. This is somebody very callously, with no concern for the cat whatsoever, tossing it. No interest in it whatsoever. Focused on her video game, getting her money from her orbiters. violently throwing this animal so fast that it probably doesn't know what the hell is going on, and not giving any shits whatsoever as to whether it lands safely or not, or what happens to it afterward. If somehow I did that in a rage, which I would never do, the angriest I get at my cats, I will yell at them and give them a really gentle smack. No more hard than you ever do when gently disciplining an animal for its own safety. So this would never, ever happen, because when I decide to take an animal into my care and take responsibility for it, I choose to actually be responsible for it and caring for it. But if you did something like this, you would be horrified. You would be devastated. You would stop what you were doing. You wouldn't give a shit about your silly little video game and your little fans online who just care about your cleavage. You would stop what you're doing. You would realize what you did, and you'd be like, oh my god, and you'd chase after your cat to make sure it didn't break its leg or something. If you weren't like a sociopath, if you were even remotely capable of having animals and taking care of them, you don't behave in this way. So this is one of those things where this is clearly evidence of somebody not giving a shit about their animals, not having compassion for the animal, prioritizing their video game over their animal. And I get it, there are times when you're going to dedicate time to something other than your pet. That's not a bad thing. But when you this viciously, callously, angrily do something to your animal because it dares to get in the way of your video game because it's a cat and it doesn't know what you're doing, this is demonstrative of a much bigger issue. This is not just one of those freak things where you get really angry and you scream at your animal, or you do something mean to it and then you regret it horribly. This is clearly a pattern of behavior. This is clearly the attitude that she has toward this animal that dares to get in the way of her video game and her making money from her fans. And there's another example of this going on, and I want to show that to you as well. Charmingly enough, this girl blocks this person immediately for joking about something. Blocked him for sharing something that she literally did, which is it's a fascinating phenomenon to me. But here's something else that she did, and this enrages me. And I'm going to show it because there's no violence against the animal. But what she's doing here, I mean, if it doesn't violate Twitch guidelines and it's all over the internet and she's still a Twitch partner and making all this money and has all these fans and has not been condemned whatsoever by any of these big corporations, surely it's fine, for her to be doing this. So as you can see here, she drinks vodka. Nothing wrong with that. Her cat's there wondering what she's doing. So she lets her cat kiss her mouth, and she spits vodka in its mouth. Now she obviously thinks, tee-hee, look how cutesy I am, I don't know any better, isn't this silly and funny, look at my animal in distress and revolted by this thing. Cats are extremely sensitive as far as their sense of taste and smell. But the issue here is that even a minuscule amount of alcohol is incredibly toxic to cats, a minuscule amount. So something as concentrated as vodka, spitting it in your cat's mouth and laughing as your cat is horrified by this and wonders away as it's revolted by what just happened. This is not tee-hee cutesy, oh it's so funny, my cat made a funny face, it had a silly reaction, aren't I cute, give me money please, look at my cleavage. This is toxic to cats. Microscopic amounts of alcohol can kill a cat or cause it severe issues for the rest of its life, can cause organ failure. This is not normal. This is not funny. This is not acceptable at all. The thing is, these are only the two examples that are just kind of brought up off the cuff by this person, So I'm wondering, I have never heard an outcry about this before now, and that doesn't mean it's not going on, obviously, because there are many things that can blow up all over the internet, and you can still not hear about them till months later. So I'm not saying people aren't talking about this, but all of the people I watch who are drama channels who call out behavior that is completely unethical, self-centered, and vindictive and wrathful like this toward an innocent animal that doesn't know any better at all, if people knew about this, the people I watch would be talking about this. You don't have to be an animal lover to recognize that this is completely ridiculous, unacceptable behavior. You don't borderline poison an animal. You don't spit something in an animal's mouth that is toxic and could kill it and then tee-hee giggle and look at my cleavage, I'm so cute, please send me money on Twitch. This is vile, despicable behavior. This is animal abuse. You don't do things like this. You don't. It's not okay. Things like this kill animals, and she doesn't care. It could not be more abundantly clear that this is really funny to her and she doesn't care at all. Tee-hee, oh, it's so cute. I almost poisoned my cat. Aren't I funny and adorable and endearing? I'm going to glance at it and make sure it's not dead and then go back to entertaining my adoring orbiters. Absolutely unacceptable. Wildly unacceptable behavior. So I just wanted to talk about this and point this out because this girl Alinity has a pretty respectable number of followers. Now, granted, when your only talent is not a talent at all, it is in fact having grown mammary glands as a biological female, which is a default, the maybe caliber of your fans or the thing that causes all your fans to like you may not be something that sort of fosters a culture amongst your fans of integrity or, you know, any kind of like intellectual credibility or honesty to where they would be willing to criticize you if they disagree with you, which is clear. The thing that makes me so angry is that she's clearly got quite a few fans here. She clearly has the hubris and the ego to block anybody who dares to criticize her, even lightheartedly, as you can see here. She blocks people for showing clips of things that she did online for money. So she has thousands of orbiters, thousands of fans, and if these are only two of the examples that are invoked of the things that she's willing to do online, when you're putting your best, you know, when you're putting your best foot forward, when you're trying to put on your most marketable face, your most likable face, what does she do behind closed doors to these animals? And these two instances are only two minor instances, yes. You know, you can give an animal a food and realize later, oh my god, I had no idea that could have caused my animal's organs to shut down or something. Or you can like get angry at your animal and push it out of the way in a fit of rage and then be horrified later. The issue, while these two things are both unacceptable things to do and to condone, and it is just mind-boggling to me that Twitch condones this behavior just because she gives them enough money every month that you know, they look the other way when she does something unethical and just awful. But it's demonstrative of her attitude toward the animals, of them being a nuisance, of them being a silly plaything for entertainment, not comprehending whatsoever that these are animals with complex emotions, nervous systems that they're nervous systems, you know, they tell you when you're in distress. You know, no comprehension of that or no respect for or care for that whatsoever. And Twitch doesn't care, you know. Twitch is fine with this because she brings in plenty of money, evidently, because she's been doing things like this for a long time, clearly, and nothing has happened. Nothing has been said by anyone. And as I was kind of getting to, that's what irritates me so much. The caliber of fans that she has is so desperate. They're so desperate for like the remotest, you know, little inkling that maybe this person will acknowledge my existence someday and actually genuinely care about me. They're that desperate for such a flippant, nasty, self-centered person's attention that this has been going on. Thousands of people have watched her do things like this repeatedly to her animals, and they have not said a word to anyone. Nobody actually cares enough about anything other than Cleavage Girl on Twitch to actually say anything to anyone, to actually say, what, is this safe? Is this healthy? Is your cat okay? Do you do this normally? Can we know more about your cats to see if they're okay? Nobody cares. Nobody has said anything until extremely recently about this. And they're clearly not her fans, you know? So the fact that as many people as are her fans have watched this happen and are so desperate for a girl to pretend to like them for their money on Twitch that they have not said a word to anybody and are willing to look the other way is absolutely mind-boggling to me. It shouldn't be. I know there are plenty of people out there who will do anything to pretend that a girl cares about their existence or is even willing to acknowledge it, but it's just mind-numbing to me. I I don't understand how people are like this. I don't understand how something like this has gone on for this long. Behaviors that are demonstrative of the fact that she does not like these animals, she does not care about these animals. And the other thing is, if you're playing a video game that's very high stakes, if you're doing something very high stakes, very, intensive, that requires all of your attention and your faculties to be oriented toward it, you may have doors in your house, correct? Houses have doors. You could actually, shut the animal out of the room if things are going to be so high stakes that when they're in the way, you're going to violently, callously fling them over your shoulder like this. If you're going to get this angry at your cat, and if your video game is this dire, you could shut the animal out of the room so this kind of situation doesn't arise if you know you've got rage problems this bad and care this little about your animal. But clearly that didn't occur to this individual. So I just wanted to point this out, because as unethical as Alinity is, bragging on stream that she's going to abuse the copyright system because she doesn't like somebody criticizing her and saying a silly word, which, unless it resonated with you somehow and really struck a nerve, why do you care? Why would you steal money for something? Not only did she brag to her fans and incite them to abuse this copyright system, and to support and advocate for this behavior with their support of her and their following of her, she actually manages to be even worse to animals than she is to other human beings, which is a hell of an accomplishment. So I just wanted to mention this because I'm amazed that people have not been talking about this before now. I just like to know how long this is going on, what else she has done. I can't imagine what she does behind closed doors, and when she's not putting her best face and her best cleavage forward to get money from people who she pretends to like to make a living. What goes on behind closed doors? What if this is as bad as it's willing to get, if this is the worst part of yourself you're willing to show on camera, and we all try to present ourselves in the most flattering light possible. It's what you do on the internet. What does she do to her cats when they're in the way, when they get on her nerves, when she's not on camera and trying to be endearing to her fans? What happens? God knows. But in my opinion, maybe you could argue that violently throwing your cat with that micro expression of just disgust on your face and rage, that you tempered enough that this was all the nastier you were to it. Oh my God, it just makes me so angry. It's not just this one incident that you might be able to explain away based on, how much you care about animals, how much you believe that they have nervous systems and emotions and, understand fear and pain. The other issue is how demonstrative this is of how little she cares about her animals, the disregard she has for them, the amount of rage that she will allow herself to direct at them if they dare inconvenience her. It's a cat. It doesn't know about your video game. It doesn't know about Twitch. It doesn't know any better. How else does she treat her cat when she's willing to be this nasty to it on stream in front of all of her adoring fans, is my question. And in my opinion, the thing is, there are a lot of times online when I see people do something to or with an animal that is not that bad, and a lynch mob will freak out and say you are abusing that animal. They're tagging PETA, they're tagging the ASPCA, they're tagging the McLaughlin lady who makes the sad sounds on the silly videos with the sad-faced animals, whoever these people are. There are lynch mobs of people who blow things way out of proportion, but in my opinion, this is not blowing it out of proportion at all. To say that this woman does not care about her animals, she flagrantly disregards their safety, their well-being, and their health, and that's just on stream, where you're trying to look as flattering and as sympathetic as you can for views and for money. It's just unacceptable. It's absolutely unacceptable. I get that you get mad at your animals sometimes and they might be in the way, but you could also actually shut the door so the animal's not in the way if you know that you're gonna lose it and be this angry and wrathful toward your animal, maybe. But clearly that didn't occur to her at this point. And I don't like the bandwagon thing. I do not like lynch mobs, and the internet is very, just at the drop of a hat, the internet will freak out and say that people are hurting their animals and need to get them taken away. But in my opinion, there are thousands of people out there who would be loving owners to these cats and not be wrathful to them for something they can't help, who wouldn't spit alcohol in a cat's mouth and think, tee-hee, aren't I cute, give me money. Because that's not an acceptable demeanor to have toward your animal. That's not an acceptable way to treat an animal. An innocent animal that doesn't know any better, that doesn't know what's in the way, that doesn't know what's bothering you, that just doesn't know any better. And that is completely at your mercy once it's shut in your house, and it's up to you, how it's taken care of, if at all. It's not the animal's fault. And I genuinely hope that these animals get better homes. I hope they do. It's just unbelievably shitty that an animal has to be treated this way, like a nuisance and like just a silly little plaything to amuse you by spitting something toxic in its mouth sometimes. And I think the animals should be rehomed somewhere else, because this is demonstrative of a much bigger problem as far as how she perceives these animals, her blatant disregard for their well-being. It's just not. It's not acceptable whatsoever. And it's just, I've said this 2 times now because I'm really angry, but it's quite an accomplishment to be even more repugnant toward animals than you already are toward people. So congratulations, Alinity, you have really outdone yourself. And I genuinely hope that your animals are taken away from you and get a better home, and I'm not talking about like when you screw up, when you accidentally like trip over your animal or step on its tail or its foot or something, or like shut its foot in the door by accident. I'm not talking about if you give an animal a treat and think it's cute and then find out later, oh my God, I had no idea that could be toxic for the animal. Thank God it's okay. This is clearly a pattern of behavior that is intentional. This is clearly a flagrant disregard for the animal's well-being, and I do think that the cats would be better off rehomed, and I really hope they do get rehomed, because you can be unbelievably shitty toward human beings. Human beings can defend themselves. Animals can't. They're at your mercy, and it's just unacceptable. Completely unacceptable. I'm sorry, you guys. I didn't really read much of the chat. Just pat the cat's toes to make it move. It annoys them into walking out of the way. Yeah, and if your cat is in the way, I mentioned that, and you were probably here for that, but yeah, you can push your cat toward the edge of the counter or the table or the desk and watch their body to see them. If they're like, okay, I'm going down now, they will orient themselves, they'll angle themselves toward the ground and prepare to hop down, and you can give them a gentle nudge to make sure they do that. You don't throw an animal or shove it, because if an animal has a foot and a half to fall, it's not going to land on its feet the same way it would if it falls 2 stories. Cats don't have the time to twist around to orient themselves, to catch themselves adequately if they fall in that short amount of space. Fortunately, that's such a short amount of space, the cat probably didn't injure itself, but she could not have given less of a shit. Maybe if it like started screaming and made her look bad on stream because it broke its ankle or something, or dislocated a shoulder, she would have turned around and stopped her silly game. But you could tell that she couldn't have been less interested in what happened to the cat. I think most people, even people who aren't like animal lovers, if you threw a cat or like flung it that hard, you'd be like, oh shit, and you'd turn around and make sure, okay, it's fine, it's walking away, whatever, and go back to what you're doing. Nothing, not even that bare minimum here. And sorry, yeah, tech support has banned OS streaming, and since I just kind of wanted to do this off the cuff because I think attention needs to be brought to this, I didn't like chase him out of the room or something. So you probably hear him in the background being sweet and having a good time, and not flinging the cats over his shoulders if they get in the way. We do the bare minimum here of not being really shitty to animals. If they get in the way and they make him angry, he will shoo them away. He will set down the game, because it's okay if you lose a video game. It's a video game, and he will nudge the animal on the floor or set it down or shut them out of the room and go back to it, because we're not total assholes to little innocent fuzzy things that don't know any better. And yeah, hi Kenny. Yeah, this is the woman as you saw who threw the cat. Aw, did you get beer? Good, y'all. Is her bed behind the chair? I don't know. I hope this isn't playing audio. It certainly doesn't look like it is on OBS, but I'm not an OBS wizard. I don't think her bed is behind her. Let me watch it again. It doesn't, like, if it was her bed behind her, you would think that the cat would, like, still be visible when it lands. But, like, I know this is a really stupid thing to be, like, looking into this much, and I know some people are so sensitive that it might be really, like, alarming or upsetting to them to see this, so I apologize if it is. The animal obviously didn't get horrifically injured. I don't think, you know, it's not like overt abuse, it's just not giving a shit about it. But you can just see, like, watch how her face changes. This is not just like, oh my god, you know, go away, cat. There's a micro expression of rage on her face. Because the cat, it's a freaking cat, it doesn't know any better. Because it dares to get in her way and get near its mom. Like, you can see that on her face. And if you want to see this again, this is on the thread where people were commenting on Sky Williams' tweet where he found a kitten. And if you want to go to Siren Cove's Twitter as well, her name is Siren Cove with a Y, and it's all one word. If you want to go to her Twitter and look at her replies, she's told people I'm doing a video on this tonight. So I'm really glad she is, because she is a cat mom too, and she loves her animals. And I believe that she's a really good mama to her cats. Just from the way she talks about them, I think that she is. And it's good that someone with the platform she does is pointing this out. Because it's just dumbfounding to me that she's got like these thousands and thousands of her little fans, and none of them care. You know, all this time nobody has cared about how she treats her animals, because they're so desperate for the approval of an internet girl who doesn't care about you beyond the money you give her. You know, they're so desperate for approval they don't care what she does to her pets, and that's really, really shitty. You know, like, if you're not even willing to call somebody out when you disagree with their behavior, you're that like subservient to them. That's really, really sad, you know. She also fed it vodka. Yeah. And you can see it in this video here, and it's really funny. She blocked this guy. She blocked this guy for tweeting something that she streamed herself doing. The irony there is pretty fascinating. But, you know, this also, if this was just an isolated incident where it's like she's just some dumb person who doesn't know any better, it would be one thing. But when you watch her do this, you know, like, you can see that she spits it into the animal's mouth. Something that's incredibly toxic to cats, incredibly toxic to them. And you can tell from her, teehee, I'm so cute. Aw, give me money. I love you guys. It's not just that I'm using you for money. I really like you guys. Look how cute I am. Oh, I'm so funny and charming. You can tell she doesn't give a shit. And that's the problem. You know, shit happens. Everybody's had, like, the hamster die in some horrible way as a kid. Not that that makes it okay, but shit happens to our animals, you know. Nobody's perfect. But this English is my first language, I swear to God. Maybe I shouldn't be, like, broadcasting that. That's not something to be proud of when I articulate myself this poorly. But the flagrant disregard for their well-being is what pisses me off and what makes these two instances major issues. So, I don't know if it's your cup of tea. If it's not, you know, it's totally fine. But I really like Siren Cove. This is her. I freaking adore her. And she's going to be doing a video on this tonight. So, you know, check that out and stuff. And anyway, don't be shitty to your pets. You don't have to love animals. You don't have to be an animal person at all. But just, like, don't be shitty to them. And if something happens, and stuff happens to everybody's animals, they fall some weird way, they do some goofy thing, you turn around and they're eating some, like, fluff ball off the floor, and you don't get the chance to check and make sure what it is before they eat it. Shit happens, no matter how much of a, like, diligent pet owner you are. But just, like, give like a minuscule amount of shits about your pets, you know. Check to make sure they're okay. If you're really angry and you're doing something like gaming, shut the animal out of your room, you know, as opposed to throwing it if it pisses you off. Like you know, it's not that hard to not be an unbelievably shitty person to your animal, especially on film, you know. The problem, Jeezy, is that cats are actually far more likely to land on their feet if they fall from like a story or two up. A cat being flung from that height doesn't have anywhere near enough time to reorient itself and catch itself. You know, like it looks like it probably knew what was happening and probably caught itself. You know, I mean, if it injured itself badly, you would hope she would have stopped. You know, just at least so she doesn't look bad to her orbiters, and checked on it. But the shorter the height an animal falls from, a cat that is, the less time they have to try and, you know, catch themselves adequately. And you would think that like when it falls from that low of a height, it's probably fine. But like a cat that falls from 2 stories up is far more likely to hit the ground unharmed than a cat that falls from like 6 to 10 feet up. But anyway, that's all. I just wanted to point this out because this shit is unacceptable. You know, like you don't have to be obsessed with animals. You don't have to like treat your animals like royalty. You do whatever you want to do. But at least pretend to give a shit about the well-being of the animal after one of these instances happens, you know. And maybe if you're gonna like have this reaction of just rage and disgust, is it not gonna play now? To a freaking cat that doesn't know any better. Like if you're gonna make that face about the cat that's in the way that dares to get in front of your cleavage in your silly video game, like either one, don't freaking have a cat. If you're going to get that pissed at an animal, don't have the animal. But 2, if you're going to get that pissed, or if you're doing something and it's your living, doing well at a game, you could like maybe shut the cat out of the room for a minute, you know? Put its litter pan out in the other room and put it out there. And if you're not capable of that, don't have an animal. Don't. Because it can't help who its owner is. It's at your mercy. And I don't think any cat, if they could pick an owner, would pick Alinity, you know? Just saying. So anyway, that's all. I'm sorry. I said the same thing over and over for like 42 minutes and 16 seconds specifically. So anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you guys are having a good day. Since it's Friday, I'm going to go eat like a little tiny microwave thing of Chef Boyardee ravioli and like watch YouTube videos probably, and try and relax and just do some chores. But I hope you guys have a good night and a good weekend or a good day, whatever time it is where you're at. And I think hopefully there are going to be a couple more videos about this soon. I know Siren Cove is doing hers, and hopefully that'll be up like tonight or tomorrow. And yeah, it's not good to be like part of lynch mobs. It's not good to bandwagon on people. You know, people definitely go way overboard with what they will condemn and label as animal abuse. People will say like very gently, reasonably disciplining an animal like for its own good is animal abuse. And I don't do that. I don't like that when people do that and get really, really judgmental and militant about how people treat their animals. But this is not acceptable under any circumstances. And I really hope her cats get taken away from her and go somewhere else. So anyway, okay, I've repeated myself enough times. I love you guys dearly. I hope you guys are having a good night, and I will see you again soon. And stuff. Now, do I watch my stream and wait till I finish with my goodbye and then hit stop streaming? Will it cut me off too soon? Will you guys see this whole thing before it cuts me off? YouTube is completely inconsistent with how it handles this. Let's see. Okay. Yes, okay, now I can say bye-bye.